is World Water Day, and in honor of that, the Rotary Club, due to the fact that the Prime Minister sponsored reusable water bottles, we have chosen the Asher Stevens class as the first third grade to receive their water bottle. And we're distributing about 1,200 water bottles on the Dutch and French side to the third graders. As you know, the third graders go to swimming lessons, and it'll be fun and reusable. As you know, we're trying to cut back on the plastic use. So today we're starting off this morning, and by the end of today, 1,200 students will receive water bottles, courtesy of the Prime Minister, Dr. Luc Mercelina, and the Rotary Club of St. Martin's Sunset.
I think it's very important for us to realize how important water is for our life and also for our health. So we need water every day. You know how many people in the world do not have access to water? It's such a huge figure. It's 2.1 billion people does not have access to water. So they wake up in the morning and they do not have water to start their day with. So we are actually very blessed in St. Martin that we have access to water for us to have a good, healthy life. The reason that we do it with a plastic bottle is because, as you know, we can continue using plastic small bottles that we buy by the supermarket every day again. And once we use it, it's one use, one throw away. And every time again, we are actually dirtying the world more and more with all these plastic bottles. So instead of that, it's better for you to have one bottle, and then you can refill it every time again. And then in that way, you're not going to use all that plastic that is dirty in the sea and our earth, right? So if every day you can use your bottle of water that you receive from us today, I think it's going to, one, be healthy, that you have water with you every day, and secondly, that you are not using every time again a plastic bottle that you have to throw away and actually dirty our environment, and that way we can keep our St. Martin clean. I see there is one question. I will take one question. Tell me, my friend.
Are they your security?
Pardon?
Are they your security guards?
These are my security guys that make sure that I give all of you a bottle of water, that I don't skip none of you. That's why they're here, to make sure that everybody gets one. And the last one then? 1,200 bottles. And we're going to give it to the third graders of the whole island on the Dutch side and also on the French side. So guys, treat your bottle nice, that you will have it for a long time with you, to always have access to water, because water is very, very healthy. So who is going to be the first one that I'm going to give a bottle of water? And then the teacher has to choose the one that will come for the first bottle of water. Who is getting it? Sarah, come, darling. What is your name?
Zaria.
Zaria, you're blessed that you have been chosen today to receive the first bottle of water from the Prime Minister. So, Zaria, in the name of the government of St. Martin and the people of St. Martin, you are the first third grader in St. Martin to receive a plastic bottle in which you can always have the guarantee to have water with you and have the same bottle to use every day.
Learn to use the bottle by drinking it every single day, putting water and drinking it every single day.
I plan to use this water bottle by using it nicely and keeping it with me safe, and don't use it dirty.
I'm gonna use it by putting water in it, and then when I get home from school, wash it and wait until the next day to use it.
Is the cherry on top of it all. These last 2 weeks have been extremely engaging. We were able to see discovery, innovation, research, lots of success, and like I said in my opening speech, the students are ready, the students are excited, the students are hungry for more. They want to learn more, they want new opportunities, they want to be challenged, they want to innovate. And as a foundation, we're ready to provide that opportunity with our partners. And my heart is full. I was able to travel to St. Kitts with the robotics team. I was able to attend the science fair as well. And along with my team, see what we are putting in place for St. Martin. And I am extremely, extremely, extremely proud, not only of the students, but proud of St. Martin for the resources that they're putting into the students and making all this possible.
It's always very nice to see the smiles on the students' faces, to see them bring together their ideas, display their ideas, and then they see the ideas result in a reward. So their hard work, in the end, it pays off. And of course, everything that goes around creating the ideas, everything that was facilitating these ideas and make it a reality, such as the schools, their mentors, their parents, it all plays a role in the end. And the students were very happy. The students did a tremendous job. And I myself am personally looking forward to seeing what the students bring forward next year in 2027.
We're starting now. We start now about a year. The last few works always comes down 3 months in advance, to get all of the students on board. It's not always easy because the reality is that science fair is not part of many curriculums within the schools, but the benefit that it brings to the students in terms of increased problem solving, critical thinking, and being able to think for themselves and not just be, like I said, not just be consumers of technology, but creators of it. All of the extra work is worth it. We are a fully volunteer board, fully volunteer committee, and we're totally dependent on sponsors. So it's really St. Martin on a whole, individual and finances, that is making this possible for the students. And I'm excited to see where it's going to go. Like I said, we evolved from 2025 to 2026, and I don't want to put any limits on us to where we can go with partnership.
Well, the vice president is a very supportive role. We have the leadership, which is the president of the organization, and everyone falls and supports the organization and making sure everything gets done. It's all volunteer based as well. This is not any type of something where we're doing it for any kind of something back. It's all volunteer based, and sometimes it's challenging to get people to clear their schedules, to put their efforts into this volunteer work. But in the end, like I said before, it's worth every time that you put into this is worth it in the end. So this is for the future. We're doing this for the future generation of St. Martin, and we'll continue doing this, so that St. Martin can have a brighter future as well.
As Parliament, as we all know, have a role to do and a job to do, and there are procedures that need to be followed. Once letters are being sent, if there is no answer to be given, at least answer that we're working on it. At least answer that it's something that we're busy with, because at the end, and I'm here speaking as a member of Parliament, no coalition, no opposition, it's just the job that we all have. And then we as well can provide a response on behalf of the people who put us here, that the ministry is working on it, that will avoid unnecessary confusion. That's one, through you, Mr. Chair. So I hope the ministry will take this advice serious, because at the end, non-response will live its own world and will have its own assumptions. And I believe assumptions is not what we need. Other than that, I'm not a specialist in regards to infrastructure, and I will not make myself a specialist either. I believe there are enough specialists in that field, but we all know that we have an infrastructure issue. We all know that currently the road in Soccer Garden is an issue. So therefore, we need to be creative, and I'm talking in we because it's a us responsibility. We need to be creative, and at this moment, and I want to know, seeing that through you, Mr. Chair, the minister mentioned that apparently at this moment, seeing whatever reasons, I'm leave that in the middle, there is no trust at this moment by the vendors or the ones that need to fix this issue, and seeing that there are financial constraints in regards to that. So therefore, I would like to ask, and I would like to use this floor as the possibility to ask those vendors that can, at this moment, assist in this urgent situations, with all consequences van dien, to assist in this temporary fix. I have seen in the past that when there was an issue on Colby Hill, there was a plate that was put. I heard my colleague, first speaker, MP York, mention that it's a small oppervlakte. As I said, it's not my specialism. So if a plate can be placed, and if that can be done out of the bottom of that organization's heart, with the focus on the ministry having the focus on making sure that future endeavors will take place in the correct way, that we can temporarily fix this issue, because it can have severe consequences, and that would be unfortunate. So I'm not looking here to place any blame on anyone. I'm just asking, as a member of parliament, to those that have the specialism and that have the opportunity to provide that plate of steel or whatever that is needed to, at this moment, temporarily stop the dangerous situation until structured measures are in place, that can be done, because it would be unfortunate if further accidents happen. And also, if some kind of board can be placed, be aware, make sure to drive slowly, and also to the public itself, please pay attention until this is fixed, even if it's temporarily, how you drive, scooter drivers as well. Because at the end, it is what it is right now, and until there's a solution, we need to have, be cautious about it. So that's my contribution in regards to the responses given. Thank you.
The goal of this policy is adequate housing for all St. Martiners in all stages of their life, aligning very well with SDG number 11, Sustainable Cities and Communities. And according to the UN, of course, adequate housing is a human right and is not a commodity. Everyone that resides in St. Martin is part of society and should have access to good housing and a good living environment. Why a housing policy? Based on the principles of Building Back Better, and through the Trust Fund financed by the Netherlands, the government of St. Martin, via the National Recovery Program Bureau, NRPB, launched a dedicated housing project. This project, with an allocation of $20 million US, aimed to strengthen institutional capacity, support the development of a comprehensive housing policy, and deliver new social housing for low-income households. This project was terminated April 2024. Out of this project, the housing policy remained. In 2024, VROMI, through NRPB, recruited a project manager to draft the housing policy, which was finalized late 2025. The policy aims to address the long-standing challenges in the housing sector, particularly the shortage of affordable and social housing. For many years, there has been a lack of affordable housing on St. Martin. The passing of the devastating hurricanes Irma and Maria in 2017 destroyed many homes on the island, and studies in 2019 listed the long waiting list for social housing and indicated shortcoming in the institutional framework and organizational capacity for social housing. Starting point. Census 2022 data. The population at that time shows that St. Martin had a population of approximately 41 to 42,000 people. And this number continues to grow. At the same time, our population is also aging, which means the type of housing we need is changing. Another important trend is that the households are becoming smaller, from an average of 4.3 persons per household in 1977 to just 2.1 in 2022. This means that even if the population growth is moderate, the demand for housing is increasing significantly, as more and smaller households require more housing units. These trends underlined the urgency for a structured housing policy that responds to both current and future needs. This policy development included several stakeholders that were engaged over time. These include different ministries, VSA, TEAT, and Finance, banks, ORCO, Central Bank, and WIB, and RPB. The policy was funded through the Trust Fund, NGOs, SMHDF, St. Martin Housing Development Foundation, of course, and Nature Foundation, and institutions, the Rental Tribunal and the Cadastre. And of course, we also include the Collectivité of St. Martin. Let's look at data, legislation, and previous reports that were analyzed. In developing this policy, one of the key challenges identified is the lack of consistent, up-to-date, and reliable data. For example, earlier estimates such as the Building Book from 2012 assumed a population of around 65,000, while official data from the Stat Office shows that as of January 2024, the population is just over 41,000. This kind of discrepancy significantly affects how we plan for housing needs and investments. At the same time, census data confirms that household sizes have decreased to an average of 2.1 persons per household, which increases overall housing demand. Another key issue identified is that our current legal framework for housing is outdated, incomplete, or not yet formalized. For example, the Building Ordinance and Building Code date back to 1935. Zoning plans are not fully formalized, and there's currently no social housing ordinance in place. This means that government lacks the necessary legal instruments to effectively guide development, regulate the housing market, and ensure adequate housing quality. As a result, housing development has been largely uncoordinated and difficult to control. Over the past 25 years, various studies have been conducted on the housing market of St. Martin. The first housing vision for St. Martin was delivered in 2003. Thereafter came an updated version in 2012. In 2016, a draft housing strategy was made, and in 2019, not long after Hurricane Irma, the World Bank Group did a rapid housing sector assessment. These documents all provide relevant information and recommendations for housing on St. Martin. All of them emphasize the need for more affordable housing. However, we can conclude that there has been limited practical implementation of these proposed actions and measures. The problems that were identified in the first vision 23 years ago still exist. There is still a need for affordable and social housing, and trends such as aging and brain drain have also continued. Therefore, various recommendations that are still relevant were reintroduced into its updated policy. In previous housing reports, the actions and measures were mainly proposed to the government and the St. Martin Housing Development Foundation. But the reality is that self-builders and small developers have been the most important producers of housing for St. Martiners in the last decades. This also means that this policy makes a shift and emphasizes the role of the private sector and in the housing value chain, the construction sector, developers, banks, etc. In the housing policy, the government has to define and monitor the rules, facilitate, and bring people together. The policy. A key objective of this policy is to bring clarity and structure to the housing sector. For the first time, we clearly define what we mean by different types of housing, including low-cost, affordable, and social housing, as well as who qualifies for each category. This is essential to ensure that support reaches the right groups and that there is transparency in how housing is developed and allocated. In addition, the policy sets out concrete actions and implementation framework to guide how we increase housing supply and improve affordability in a coordinated and effective way. Without clear definitions and structure, we cannot effectively address the housing challenges we face.
SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social health insurances.
Thank you all again also as well for the presentation. And just on a very high level, right? The MP Westcott previously said that it was about a legislative and regulatory framework. But then when I look at the presentation and I review it again, that's what I was expecting. So I expected, and this is why I said that's what I was expecting, because we didn't really know anything, or I didn't really know anything about the RFP. Like, this came in only after the fact. So we were really in the dark about most of this stuff. But now if I go through and I look at it, I was expecting that we're getting sort of like the legislation with the regulation. But what I get confused on in the presentation is that even though it's like very heavy focused on the economic benefits, very heavy, like, and then it gives you a little bit of information on, like the environmental and some school programs. But I am sometimes confused because I'm trying to remind myself, am I reading something like legislation and a regulatory framework, or am I reading a business plan? So this is what I want to make very clear to you all, is that this looks like a business plan of why we should be doing legalization, as opposed to making sure that we cover all of the things that come from it. And I'll give you a perfect example. What I would have loved to see, this presentation focused on one slide out of a massive presentation on the medical disadvantages, right? The health disadvantages of it. But it's one page. So anyone that did any research about the US, and I'm gonna say I took it directly from friends who are deans at Harvard. And what happened when marijuana was legalized in the state of Massachusetts, no one really expected who would get the burden. And the burden came on the emergency rooms, the emergency departments. That's what happened. So when we're talking about regulatory framework, I'm like, well, that should include a bigger part, a bigger share from public health perspective, as in part of the regulatory framework that I would see is that you take into consideration the actual minimum requirements of what would happen in an emergency department. So what a doctor said, it was a group of 5 of them from Harvard, and they said, actually, you know what? No one even thought about us in the end. We took the burden of marijuana legalization, and no one else did it. Now, take St. Martin, for example. We've been trying to build our hospital forever. We send the majority of our patients off island because we don't have the expertise. So again, in the presentation, I literally have a business plan of why we should be doing it, which is wonderful. But I don't have an all-encompassing overview of everything in the island, and specifically medical, because it will have a medical impact. No, you can't deny it and tell me, oh, it's not that much. It's people who have a predisposition to psychosis. No, no, no. I will give you the Harvard reports, and they will tell you straight up, if you're not focusing on the concentration levels, anybody at any time can flip. So I'm actually concerned about my St. Martin people. I'm not against legalization, but I'm concerned that we are focusing on money and not focusing on health. We already have a very, very, very struggling system here, a healthcare system. So if in this presentation of money, you're not including health, I have a problem. But again, I am so grateful that finally, like, the smoke is clearing and we can get some more information on what's happening with this plan. But what I really want you all to explain to me is how it's like. So I'm going to go back to my understanding right now, because we keep saying the legal, the regulatory framework. But the other part for me that's confusing in this is that normally when you are creating the framework or the controls, right, you're creating the system. Like, so I'm thinking, well, here we are getting legislation, regulatory framework, but then it also looks like the people who are creating it are the ones who are operating in it. So I would like you to basically try to clarify, please, why I'm creating the rules and the legislation, but I'm also giving you the business proposal. So the overlap of responsibilities doesn't work for me, and it doesn't work for like my financial background brain, which usually has the person who makes the accounting rules is not the one who's going to be it's like the one who they aren't the ones that are going to be operating in it. So you have to have separation of powers, and I do not see separation of powers here. So it just looks like I'm doing everything I want, and then I'm also going to operate it. So it's like one person, one group is in charge, and it doesn't make sense to me. From a legal framework, I don't get it. Again, I'm going to reemphasize that I'm very happy that the smoke is clearing, but I need a little bit more information. And I mean, given the size of this presentation, I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot more meetings.
Are you SXV insured? Do you have a valid medical insurance status? SXV is cardless. Request your My SXV account today and enter the virtual office of SXV. Go to sxv.sx and sign up now.
SXV, yeah, your social and health insurances.
St. Martin, Great Bay, the St. Martin Carnival Development Foundation, SCDF, has officially announced that Carnival 2026, marking the 55th edition of the island's premier cultural festival, will be extended by an entire week to accommodate a more extensive schedule of events and high public demand. The originally announced dates have been revised to reflect the extended celebration from April 10, 2026 to May 5, 2026. Including the pre-carnival events in March, carnival enthusiasts can anticipate more than a month of festivities, offering revelers more music, more moss, more culture, and more sweet SXM energy. This decision responds to unprecedented interest from cultural participants, stakeholders, and the public, alongside SCDF's commitment to delivering a carnival that honors both tradition and evolution.
Minister of Transport and Works and Senior Minister Kirk Humphrey says another flyover at the Bussa roundabout is also under consideration. The government has received costings for 6 locations in total. Mr. Humphrey shared the update with CBC News today ahead of his ministry's first public consultation on traffic set for tomorrow. He says the plan to ease congestion includes flyovers at key junctions, road widening, and the rollout of traffic inspectors under the new Barbados Mass Transit Authority.
We're definitely going to be doing the flyover at Hottesville turning. There's a conversation about a flyover at Bussa as well. We've had actually costings for about 6. I think immediately we want to start moving on that. The Prime Minister has already announced it is our intention to have these flyovers finished within 18 months. The reaction from the public has been fantastic, but I also think we have to widen the road. So even if we want to widen all of Highway 2A going up, to make sure we have 4 lanes in both directions, well, 2 lanes in both directions to ensure that Barbadians have more ease. I think there's some junctions as well that we have to widen because a lot of people are waiting for other people to turn right. And if we can fix that, then we make it immediate for Barbadians to start feeling immediate relief. I think the one thing that I think we need as well, maybe more traffic police on the road, but the traffic inspectors that will be hired by the Barbados Mass Transit Authority, particularly on the mornings and on evenings, to help regulate traffic, to help direct traffic.
Well, Barbadians will have a chance to offer suggestions at the upcoming series of national consultations. The first will be at Dighton Griffith Secondary School tomorrow, March 23rd. This will be followed by sessions at Princess Margaret Secondary School on Wednesday, March 25th, the St. Michael's School on Monday, March 30th, and the Alexandra School on Wednesday, April 1st. All begin at 6:30 p.m. Now, Minister Humphrey says this national conversation goes beyond fixing potholes. He says it's about rethinking how traffic moves across the island.
I understand that many Barbadians are frustrated with the roads. They're frustrated with the time that it takes to get to work, and even in the evening and the nighttime. So I understand that, and so I want to offer an apology to Barbadians. A lot of what you're seeing is a lot of road works and other problems. But I think what we need now is a national reset. And in my meetings with the MTW, I've said it for sure, we have to look at a different way on how we choose roads, how we communicate with the public. When we're fixing the road, the alternate roads, we have to make sure those roads are a little bit more smooth as well. The consultation's really about hearing from Barbadians, hearing about persons in the PSV sector, hearing from business people, hearing from commuters, just the general public about how they feel and their ideas, and to bring those ideas to the fore. I don't expect you're going to have immediate satisfaction of all the problems, but you're actually going to see immediate changes in the way we go about doing business, certainly in terms of the consultation and in the way we communicate with the Barbadian public.
This is our SXM Daily Newscast. Thank you for joining us.